singing to a single star. Welcome to another episode of Seeking the Light of a Thousand Suns. In this captivating episode, we're joining intuitive medium and spiritual guide Kelly Fitzgerald to explore the dimensions of existence and the beings that inhabit them. Together, we'll unravel the mysteries of multidimensional beings, their influence on our lives, and how to connect with them for spiritual growth. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. This is kind of exciting because it's not really a topic a lot of people talk about.
Yeah, and I do think more people should be talking about it. There's a lot of things happening right now on the planet, and a lot of it is involving multidimensional people, or beings. So yeah, it's an important topic.
So, before we jump in, when did you first become aware of these multidimensional beings?
I
Or,
was very young. I was very young. I had beings coming to me when I was probably two or three. So it's been pretty much my whole life. It's it was never scary to me as a child. I was just curious. So they continued coming. And look, here is my friend from, wherever. And I just learned to communicate with them. There are different languages and different methods of communicating and different cultures that they have, just like we have on this planet. And it's important to realize the real language that all of them speak is love. So if you can talk to them with your heart, they will hear you and they will communicate. If you're always in your head, you can still get through, but they think you have a lot to learn, human, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
wow, I think everything that I've done trying for communicating has been with my head. So that's a cool, um, that is a really cool tip. I'll have to try that now.
Yeah. If you drop your awareness into your heart chakra, you'll get there really quick. And it kind of feels like you're a little shaky. The vibration and communicating with multidimensional beings, no matter which one they're from, their frequency is so much higher than we're used to that sometimes people feel a little unsteady. So I recommend people sit down or lie down, whatever, so that you don't fall down because sometimes the energy hits you pretty hard.
You know what else I also liked? I also liked how you brought up your experiences as a child because there are a lot of very open children uh, before, societal conditioning and everything else. And a lot of times adults will try to um, explain away, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so I have had experiences since I was very young too. However, mine aren't usually light.
right.
So most of the time I'm running scared or I'm afraid. And when I was young, um, I started, sleeping with the light on. I started not wanting to go to bed. I started keeping myself awake all night long so that I wouldn't, get tired or fall asleep. Um, and my parents and people that they have spoken with kept saying it was night terrors.
Right. Yeah.
And that's all fine and good. I'm sure they happen. I'm not even doubting that at all.
Right. Right.
But the thing is that I wasn't sleeping.
Right. Right.
And there's still times in my adult life that I go, nope, 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 and walk away or hide or, take off or block, 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 block. Because it seems like when the sun is going down is when I see the most scary things.
Right.
And I don't know why I'm being presented with this type. Someone else had told me once before that not everything that looks scary is bad.
Yep.
But if I'm too afraid to stand there and look,
Right. Right. Right.
um, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that you bring up because there's a lot of children that have abilities that might be getting dismissed or shamed.
Hmm.
And so that is really sad.
Well, I agree that not everything that looks scary is negative. But with kids, a lot of times parents use night terrors or they have an imaginary friend or, something along those lines. And I've seen a bunch of kids, little kids, um, that have beings following them around. Most of the time, they are not negative, but the child sees them. We are all born with the ability to see different dimensions and different beings. Society just kind of teaches that out of us. So when I have someone who told me that their son or daughter had an imaginary friend when they were little, and now they're coming to me saying, help, the whatever church says they need an exorcism. Can you help us? And I'm looking at this child and I see the being behind them, and I'm going, you do not have anything to worry about with this particular situation. Now, maybe there are other situations that are concerned. And those do happen, and exorcisms are necessary. I agree. Some people, if that is your belief system, they benefit from that. I am not one of those people. But I can see that there might be a use for it depending on the person's culture and beliefs. Most often, it is an ancestor or it is a multidimensional being, commonly referred to as an angel. Everybody has these beings around them. It is not a religious thing. They laugh at that. They think we are terribly humorous. They really, we are their comic relief in many ways. But they do guide us. We also have spirit guides. We also have elemental spirits sometimes. I have a tree spirit. I live in Arizona. I have tree spirits, so they go with the person, not necessarily with the location. That's why I think one of the biggest disservices people have done to each other is paranormal shows on TV, mostly because every single person now thinks they are a paranormal investigator because they watched 3 episodes of Ghost Adventures or whatever.
And they can just purchase the
Right, you can buy the stuff online.
yep.
One of the things, especially with children, when you have a situation where, and I've been called into places that are supposedly haunted, and you go there, and yeah, there's spirits there. That's your great aunt Ida, that's your Uncle Pete, there, yeah, and they're not malevolent in any way, or malevolent, I can't talk. But it's important to recognize what you have in your house. There are some very dark entities. There are some very, very, very dark beings. Not most of the time. So if you have a child that is very afraid of beings that are trying to contact them, the first place my mind goes to, and I know this is not the focus of this podcast, is some type of an abduction. If you have a being that comes in and wants you to go with them, that is generally not a good sign.
Right.
That is a time where maybe some sage, Palo Santo, is really good. And just clear that energy. You can also bring down a bright white light. It exists, invite it into your space. Clear all the darkness, clear all the negativity. That is the first thing I tell people with kids who are having issues to do. Sage, bring in that bright white light. And they always look at me like, what kind of light bulb is that? No, you're not getting it. I'm talking about from the ethers, bring in a white light, invite the white light in, and protect this kid. I know people who swear by salt. I've used salt many times on different occasions. It works great. But when you're dealing with something like an entity or a being that is scaring a child, maybe you need something a little stronger than salt. So,
yes, ma'am.
maybe use the sage, turn to Palo Santo. There are a lot of tools. There are things you can put under the bed. I always put salt under my daughter's bed. That's a use for salt. A very effective tool that I teach people to use, write your name on a piece of paper. Put it in the bottom of a jar, pour salt water on top of it. That is protecting yourself. I've had parents do that for their children, and everything gets lighter in the house. Never underestimate the power of salt. Sometimes you need to layer the protection. And that's the thing with a lot of entities. Right now, the earth is being bombarded with energies, both light and dark energies. If you're following the Schumann resonance, which is essentially the earth's heartbeat, the earth has a frequency and a magnetic, system here. It's really intense for sensitive people right now, especially sensitive kids. It's been my experience that the most sensitive kids are born into the families with the least sensitivity.
Yes,
And
that is
that
so true.
that's unfortunate.
Yes.
But there are beings that will help you. There are tools you can use. Invite the protective white light. Those are good things to do when you have a child that's having experiences. Not everything is a demon, but if you say go away and that entity remains, it's not good. Doesn't mean it's a demonic thing or a very, very dark thing. Just means it's not the most positive. If you say go away, they should leave. I, I've had people tell me that their child was throwing salt in a direction in his bedroom, and I thought that was pretty interesting too. What I do for myself, I live in an area that is not really thrilled with what I do or who I am. So what I do is I wrap myself in a bubble when I leave my house, and just a bubble of protection. Mine happens to be pink. My daughter uses blue. It just depends on what color you want. And your intention is what matters. The first thing people need to accept and to realizing is probably easier than them actually accepting it. I've had arguments with people over this. Everything is energy.
Yes.
We live in a world that is made up of electricity and magnetism and frequency and all of that stuff. The big thing to realize, and what people have the most trouble with, is this planet and our civilizations on it are a direct result of what humans have put out. So whatever you put out is what you're going to get back. Also works with dimensions. We are pretty much in the third dimension. There are some of us who have ascended to the fifth dimension. It is all a matter of frequency. Humanity as a whole is getting ready or is in the process of ascending to the fifth. We're going from third to fifth. We're skipping right over the fourth, which is terrible to me because there's a lot of interesting beings in the fourth dimension. But the higher our frequency is, and individually, we need to raise our frequency. But all of those frequencies together that are raising will make us move up to the fifth. Now, when we get up into the fifth dimension, a lot of people will start seeing the beings that are there now. A lot of what people call aliens, extraterrestrial beings, are actually, not all of them, actually multidimensional. They have been here on this planet since the beginning of time. We will begin seeing them as our frequency raises to match theirs. Right now, they're up here, we're down here somewhere. That is a collective of all humanity that is helping to raise our entire species up. So it's all about frequency. Now, when you get up into the sixth dimension, the seventh dimension, the frequency of those beings are also higher. It's all about the frequency. When I work with multidimensional beings, most of the ones I work with these days, not all of them, but a lot of them are from the seventh and ninth dimensions. I don't know why they're not in the eighth dimension. They just, those are the ones that have reached out to me. It is always about frequency. Now, just like electricity, we don't stay at that frequency all the time. It is a constant effort. We have to, everybody is entitled to a bad day. I've had some horrible ones trying to get a movie made. But it's important that you recognize when you're slipping. And we do recognize it. We just usually say, oh, I'm grouchy today. Yeah, because your frequency is down a little bit. Do some inner work. Once you've done the inner work that you need for that day, you're going to feel better and your frequency, your energy is going to go back up. It's just like, if you're eating bad food, you're going to feel bad. If you're not exercising or moving, you're going to hurt. It's just like everything else. Energy is an aspect of ourselves we've not been taught about. And we need to be taught about it because it really is a universal law that what we put out is what we bring back in. So if I've had clients, multiple clients, who have said, I will never have enough money. I will never. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's what you're telling the universe you want. Nothing. So switch it. Just turn it around. And then you will start seeing these other dimensions. Most of the dimensions that are accessible to us are, fifth, seventh, sixth, a little bit. Most people can sense that. If you've ever walked into a place and you just go, ooh, that's you sensing, a different thing. I've had really interesting Reiki classes because along Reiki 2, people start sensing different dimensional beings. And you can, if you're sensitive, you can feel the energy in the room kind of shift when they come through. I've had students that go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and I'm like, what happened? Well, did you see? Well, yeah, he's a teacher, he's a guide. What do you want? So when it first starts happening, it's a little freaky for people. For me, I've always been, that's interesting. It's never scared me. But, for a lot of people, it does, especially once we get older and through high school, college. No, that's not happening. That's not real. That's your imagination. Let me tell you something. Your imagination is real. There are multi-dimensions where versions of us exist in other dimensions. Time is not linear, it's stacked. So once you start realizing that it is stacked, you can go, wonder what's going on over here in the seventh dimension. What am I doing over there? And you can learn to reach that. But it does take time to be able to do that. It's all about frequency. Different beings have different frequencies. So their world is different because it's on a different frequency. Same timeline, though. That trips people up. It's something not a lot of people can embrace, but it is all about energy and frequency. It's, you know, I do paranormal investigations. I've gone out to places where I saw a saucer and okay, okay, I'll buy that. You saw a saucer, but where did it really come from? Sometimes they are multidimensional. They're not from out there somewhere. Sometimes they are. But a lot of the beings that people are seeing are multidimensional. The biggest one for me, and I think I already mentioned it a little bit, is what is commonly referred to as an angel. They are multidimensional beings. If people are going to see an entity, 9 times out of 10, they're going to describe it as an angel. Sometimes I've heard people say, this dark angel appeared to me. Okay, but they're still using that term. And what they're seeing is multidimensional. Just like on this planet, there are good and bad. It's good and bad in every dimension. You know, there just is. That's just the way the universe works. But what you have to understand is in every dimension, there are other dimensions. So it's sort of, if you've ever looked into quantum theory or string theory, that's kind of what that's reality. Science has finally figured out the basics that everything is energy, everything is frequency. And that's the same thing with dimensions. You want to see another dimension, raise your frequency to match that dimension. If your energy and your frequency matches something that's magnetic, it will pull to you. And people don't realize that. You want money in your life? Raise your frequency to that of money. Really simple meditation you can do. Just sit quietly, open your eyes, close your eyes, whatever. I had a student that said, cross my eyes, sure, whatever. It just set your intention. It is my intention that I vibrate at the same frequency as money. And if you set your intention, that's what you're going to get. I've had people say, I can't meet the right person. I want a relationship. Set your intention that you're pulling in the person who matches your frequency. You don't like that person? Guess what? It's not with that person. It's with you. Raise your frequency. You'll find a different person. And that's, people don't take responsibility. Nobody can make you happy. You make you happy. And we're really big at playing the blame game, which really, really makes the other beings hilariously laugh. It is just the funniest. They find humans hilarious, and kind of we are. So, but that's dimensions. It's frequency. It's all frequency.
Wow. I as I'm listening here, I was having some aha moments. So I'm still kind of absorbing some of that. That was good. That was really good. Um, so when we're talking about intentions, frequency, and things like that, the intentions part is pretty cut and dry, but other than like self-care, um, meditation, a good clean diet, are there other things that would be in everybody's toolbox that you would recommend for raising or maintaining a higher vibration?
What I like to do and it annoys people because I say it so much, Sage Palo Santo. When you get your space clean. And that's the thing. I happen to be kind of a messy person. It's not that I attempt to make a mess, I just naturally do that. The biggest difference that I've seen in my life as far as my energy goes is cleaning up my own messes. I have six dogs right now. That's a lot of dogs in my house, and I live alone with six dogs. So there's a constant mess. And I'm not saying stay on top of every second. I'm saying when you get ready to sit down and meditate, take a look around your space. Maybe clean up around you. I'm not saying spot clean the whole house. I'm saying where you are, and that's usually here where I meditate. And this is a studio, recording studio. So there's frequently, there's a mic over there, there's a guitar I see right now, there's stuff around. If you clean up your immediate space when you start to sit down and meditate, it will go a long way to helping you set that intention and be more positive. When you're sitting down or even walking around, I know people who do moving meditations. You don't have to sit down and close your eyes and be still. You can do a moving meditation, walking in nature. I have friends who ride motorcycles. That can be incredibly meditative. I've gone coast to coast on the back of a Harley more than once, and it's very meditative. You notice nature, even if you're not sitting in it, you're noticing it. Clouds. I must have 300 pictures I've taken from the back of a bike of clouds. And it's just something that distracts you from what is going on around you. You have to clear your mind. And when we say clear your mind, it doesn't mean your mind's a blank slate. That will never happen. Your mind will never have nothing in it. But it means let go of worry, let go of guilt, let go of shame, let go of anger, let go of all of that stuff. There used to be, I cannot remember her name now, there used to be a speaker who did a speech on love or above. That's where you want to be with your frequency. When we're talking about things like guilt and shame and anger and worry and all that stuff, those are lower vibrations. You want your vibration higher so that you can manifest good stuff. Make sure when you sit down, you're manifesting good stuff though. Don't start, okay, I'm going to meditate now. Oh, but I should pay that bill. Oh, I think the electricity bill is going to be due. I don't do that to yourself. The whole key, if you want to raise your vibration, let that stuff go. Notice it. Don't ignore it. Don't ignore the mortgage payment. That's a bad idea. But, okay, here it is, done. Be grateful you have a house to pay the mortgage on. That's a big thing about raising your vibration is you have to get to the positive feelings, the positive vibrations, the positive thoughts. Even if you just get to neutral, where I'm congratulating myself because I haven't worried yet today. It may be 6:30 in the morning, but still, that's something to be grateful for. You have to be conscious of where you are. Wherever you are is fine. It's not a race. Wherever you are is fine. But to raise your vibration, you need to be conscious of where you are. You can't start building a house from the ceiling down. You have to have that foundation.
One of the things that you just brought up is an amazing part of this as well, was the gratitude.
Yeah.
I thought that affirmations and gratitude journals were more so the New Age or pagan spiritual practices. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. There are so many successful people that are not in the same spiritual interests that will say the gratitude journal. Actually, I'm trying to think. Matthew McConaughey
Hmm.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
Um, he's a very spiritual person, but it was the first like it was the first famous person I could think of, but
Right.
there's many out there, and so there's so much truth with aligning your intention, the vibration, and then also having gratitude. They all start intertwining. They all start intertwining with each other for alignment,
Yeah.
and that is so cool.
One of the things, and I've written several, I think 20 something books. Anyway, I write a lot. One thing that I tell people all the time, if you don't want to write a gratitude journal, you don't want to write down your dreams and your intentions, that's okay for you. Okay. But you have to spend time every day thinking about it. Um, I kind of, I kind of rub people the wrong way when I say that because it is so prevalent. Gratitude journal, a dream journal, whatever journal. Um, some people have a gut-wrenching aversion to writing. I've taught many of them, so I can tell you for a fact they exist. It's okay to write it in your head. It's okay to use your imagination. On my YouTube channel, there I did a meditation video many years ago that is called Create Your Perfect Life Meditation. And it's all about not writing it down. It's about your brain. Create the life you want here. If you can create it mentally, you can create it in your heart. And once it's in your heart, it's going to come to pass. It's just a matter of setting a firm intention, seeing it, feeling it. If you're a visual learner, you're probably not going to want to sit and write down a journal. Um, an auditory learner is not going to want to sit and write down. Do what works for you, but do it every day. And I've had people say, I don't have anything to be grateful for. You're here, start there. You know, it really is that simple. You can build on it. When you start looking around at your life, you find a million things to be grateful for. It's whatever works for you. I highly encourage people to use their imagination as frequently as possible. Sitting in traffic, what car are you driving? What car would you rather be driving? Put yourself in that car. You're sitting at home in your kitchen. What would you rather be, cooking in your kitchen? Those kinds of little things reset your brain. For years and years and years, I did a podcast. We actually did a whole series on law of attraction. And people would call in and they would say, it doesn't work. And I would say, what are you trying to do? Well, I want to be $1 million. I want to have $1 million in the bank. I want to have a big mansion. I want to, what are you doing now? Living in my parents' basement. Okay, there you go. You're trying to take too big a step.
Mhm.
It's okay to imagine yourself having that life. It's wonderful. Do it, definitely. But you have to start where you are. When you accept where you are, you can move forward. So find something to be grateful for that doesn't include staying in your mom's basement, becoming a millionaire overnight, and buying a mansion. You know, baby steps. That's where I think a lot of people mess up with the law of attraction. I know it was a little side journey there, but
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And then sometimes there's layering and building, along with that. And
Yep.
you're right. And this is like as far as magic and spells and all the other stuff also is a lot of people think that completing the steps, the actions, is all they need to do.
Yeah, I know they do.
Uh, I'm not talking about like seasoned,
Right,
practitioners, um, because a lot of us have been in other communities and been around other people
right.
practices and stuff like that. But Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that would follow steps from an Instagram or from a book or from whatever, and actually kind of like you and I would read a recipe, sort of, you know.
Right.
All right, I added this. Okay, I added that. Okay, now I say this. Okay, and that's not the way it works.
Yeah, and that's kind of the same thing as going along the law of attraction. You have
Right,
to be very clear on your intentions. I've seen this happen with people in the past where what they really want is to be happy and feel fulfilled. But what they try to do is bring in that person or that car or that, whatever it is. And it's the same kind of thing. Before you do anything, you need to really do some soul searching. What are you looking for? Because part of all of this, whatever ritual you're or ceremony you're doing, whatever you're doing, what do you really want? You have to be clear on your intentions because a lot of times we want an instant gratification. We think, oh, if I have $1 million, I'm going to be happy. No, you're going to be miserable with $1 million. It's just not we don't go deep enough.
right.
We stay very
Because
surface.
they're thinking that that's going to bring the happiness, but really what's it most likely something else is missing that would bring them the happiness they're looking for.
Yeah. So be
Right,
clear on your intentions when you're setting them.
right,
No matter what you're doing. That's the saltwater thing I talked about earlier. It's kind of the same thing. You have to set your intention. This is protecting me.
right.
Otherwise, you're just making salty water with your name in it.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
but that is the problem. This is a little side trip too, but I know a lot of people play with spirit boards or Ouija boards. If you're not setting your intention that only good things are going to come through, that you are protected, that everyone touching that planchette are protected, you can invite some real icky stuff. So
Yeah.
it goes back to your intentions again. Make sure you are working protected. Don't do anything. Don't open any doors if you are not protected. And too often I get called to go and fix somebody's. We didn't know this was going to happen. Yeah, okay. And it's just easily preventable. So be clear in your intentions always. Make sure you're protected. And I know somebody's going to listen to this and go, I'm always protected. No, maybe not. Yeah. It's a good practice to get into. And I do this every morning when I get up. Protect me. I am protected. And you kind of have to do that these days, especially. You know.
Um, let's talk a little bit about the spiritual realm or spiritual beings, I should say. What would you say that you work with the most, and if that is different than what like a beginner would be working with?
The way I approach that is now I have guides. Everybody has guides. My favorite guide recently is a Viking guide. Really kind of neat to be able to speak with a Viking. I understand runes a whole lot better now. Um, but it depends on what I'm looking for. You can find, and if you ask, okay, I am protected, and while I'm protected, I am inviting the being who is going to help me do whatever, increase my income because lately everybody I've spoken with wants more money. And then the being will come to you, but you have to be specific when you're doing that. And I think that's a lot of the issues beginners find themselves in is they're not open enough to have that being step forward. They're like, okay, I'm inviting the, oh my God, I'm so scared, and you can't do that. If you are protected, if you've protected yourself, whatever you do, if you use incense, if you use salt, whatever it is, once you have drawn that circle around you, you are in the circle, make sure you know you are protected. Generally, you want to protect yourself as you're doing a circle, or lighting the incense, lighting the candles. Every step I take, and I am protected. I am, making this, and I am protected. And if you do that, and beginners like to skip steps, you won't get yourself in trouble when you're asking for help and someone steps through. Don't open doors you can't close. If you're going to open something, make sure you can close it. If you're going to invite someone in, make sure you dismiss them. It's really simple stuff to someone that has done this a while. But to beginner, oh, I should close the ceremony? Yes, please. It's just making sure you are conscious and aware of what you're doing when you're doing it. It's really easy. Oh, I've done this a million times. You say that, and you skip steps without realizing you're skipping them. And I think a lot of things, it's just being aware, staying present while you're doing what you're doing is something that I think beginners need more help with. It really is important that you say the right things in the right order. It really is important that you do the right things in the right order. If you're skipping steps, you don't know what you're creating. And you really need to be aware of that. Just slowing down, take a deep breath, focus on what you're doing is something that every beginner needs to do more of. It's just, and then your guides will come through. But, if you're inviting whoever is out here, you're not going to know what you're getting.
That's right.
You have to do your homework. You have to do some research before the first time. Once you've done things 3 or 4 or 5, a dozen times, you do know what you're doing, but you still need to pay attention. And I think that's, it's important to know it takes time to learn what you need to know. Don't rush. You've got plenty of time to learn what you need to learn.
And I guess what I like about you bringing up the skipping the steps and such, I can't emphasize enough where if you're actually following something written, to follow all of the steps, and not only that, but keep a record of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, we go back to people not liking journaling and people not liking um, writing things. However, I've
This
had
is the case
people,
for me too. Yeah.
I have had people multiple times come to me to ask to undo something, right? Reverse it, cancel it, undo, and I'll be like, well, what did you do? I don't know. I had this. Okay, well, what was it? I don't remember. What type of tools did you use? What it was said? I don't know. I don't know. So you can measure your successes and you can measure your failures
Right.
by keeping by keeping, the materials. If, everything's come to fruition, or you feel like you don't need uh, the amount of paper that you've collected for whatever reason, that stuff it can be burned, it can be um, shredded, buried. I mean, all kinds of different things. Um, when so you talk quite a bit about getting information and help from your guides. For you um, as an intuitive medium, would you say, like, I know that they're around you all of the time, but would you say that there's a an open communication line 24/7 as well?
And every day is different. So sometimes they're quite chatty, and other times it's just, yeah, maybe you should do this. It depends on the being coming through. I've worked a lot with different dimensional beings. They don't stay all the time because the frequency difference is such that I think it hurts them to try to, lower it to enough for us, but we can raise and they'll meet us halfway. If you're talking to someone from the ninth dimension, they may meet you on 7, you know, some of them will come down to 6, but it's, you have to stay open. And it is perfectly fine, I've been told many times, to put up the close sign, like I have to do sometimes. And sometimes in readings, I will be working with a client, and then in the middle of everything, I'll have somebody else come through. And it's like, it's not for that person, but it might be for the next person. And they were just super early. Like, don't you have a watch? And I'm always reminded they don't have time. So sometimes I get different people coming through. It's interesting how that works. It's very interesting.
One of the things that I really like about you is the willingness to share your knowledge. And I did see on your website that you do readings, and but what I also liked was that you will train, teach, or guide people that need assistance as well. Um, can you talk a little bit about the services or examples of services, so people have an idea of you? Well, I know that your background is very large, but what the most common things are so that people are aware of what you offer.
The bulk of my time is spent doing readings for people.
Okay.
Often, very often, I will find someone during a reading who has a purpose of developing their gifts. We all have gifts. It's whether or not we choose to develop them. And sometimes during a reading, I will just get either someone will say it or I will see around them. Readers have a certain aura, and I see aura frequently. And when I'm in a reading and all of a sudden I see this bright aura, I'm like, you should do what I do. I do help people tap into their intuition. I don't like the term psychic because it has such a bad connotation.
Mhm.
But it's there are times when that is the only way I can describe what I do to people, because they get that, they know what that is. But with classes, I like to do one-on-one training. I do have a curriculum. I do have things written out and, handouts and such. But I find it's more valuable to me and to the student to actually delve one-on-one. And what I like to do with them is just say, when did you turn off? When did you shut down? Because if you can give me an age range, then I can know what to look at as far as what probably caused that and how we can undo that and flip the script. I like to work with people. So if there's a client that calls me and she says, I see you have $150 posted for this. Can you do 100? I will always do that. Now, if it happens repeatedly and I find out this person's, really not financially challenged, then I will probably stop with that person. No, I need the full price. But most of my clients are in the lower economic scale. And they probably need this information more than someone who can afford to pay full price. So everyone needs this. Everyone needs the knowledge. If you have it inside you that I want to learn more, you need that knowledge. There are certain things you can't learn from books. Books are wonderful. I've written a bunch of them, but you have to be taught sometimes.
That's right. Absolutely.
Books are a great resource. Everyone should own a library. But when it comes down to specifics, and even sometimes you read something in a book and it kind of doesn't click, you need someone to say, hey, here's how you do that. People need the information. They need the information in a way they can understand. What I have found through the years is most people are visual learners, and you don't always get it all from a book. You need that here's the next step. So that's why I do what I do, because I know there are people out there looking for the information and they just can't find it, or they can't afford the class, or there's only so many books you can buy. You know,
Right.
it's, I think it's important.
It is. I think so too. Do you have book recommendations?
Um, I really don't, because there are so many of them out there.
Okay.
It's somebody asked me today, what's the best tarot deck? Yeah, I own about 50 decks. Could I tell you my favorite? No. It's individual. One of the books that students of mine have found really helpful is an old one, and it's a Llewellyn book called Solitary Practitioner. And that is one that people think, it's easy, I can understand this. And it's a really old book. I think it
Is
came out.
that one of the Cunningham books?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Scott Cunningham is great to look up. I've been in a number of groups and organizations, and I can tell you, no two are alike. Everybody does something different. Everybody puts their own spin on things. The basics might be exactly the same, like they should be, but they're going to do things a little bit differently, use a little bit different color, different incense, different candles, different whatever. So it's a matter of personal preference. I have had people that I'm still working with 5 years later than we started. I've had people that I've worked with once and they're good, and that's fine. I know who they're working with now. Friend of mine, great. There should not be, there is competition. There should not be competition when it comes to spiritual matters or magic or energy or any of this. It should be, okay, I'm going to take you as far as I can, and then I can make some recommendations for who you can go to next.
Right. And I think about how that would completely benefit someone because so seeing two or three professional or highly qualified individuals and getting a little bit more roundedness because like you
Yeah,
said, the basics are the basics, but with the different spins and the different viewpoints and the different ways about going toward or, um, working toward an outcome, there's a multitude of other things that could collide and spark and bring new awareness to from there, which I think
yeah.
would be amazing.
Well, and I encourage people, look at different religions. Everyone should study world religions, because you find that they're all kind of the same. The names change, ceremonies change, rituals change, but they're all basically the same. I died recently, and when I was in the hospital, a Catholic priest was sent to my room because they thought, well, she died, surely she has some questions. And we talked for, half an hour. And when he left, he says, thank you for talking to me. I learned a lot. And I'm going, what? What? But he said, it's different belief systems. and they have the same common basis. And that's what I wish people would take away from life. You know, there is love is the real religion. Love is the real basis for us being here. Love is the highest frequency. When you talk to beings from other dimensions, they will tell you love is the real religion. Love is the real why we're here. Love is the real belief. Love is everything. And when I was sent back after I died, they told me, take this away. You were going back for love. And that's what it's all about.
I like how that ties into back what you were saying earlier too about the different dimensional levels and the frequencies, and I guess you would even say spiritual growth or ascension, is all based on love and communicating with beings through your heart chakra. So there's a really big theme here. Um, those topics and when you're saying to make sure that you're giving this love to the world, then I'm thinking, you know, instead of on the microcosm, the macrocosm of that, um, meaning it doesn't have to be just other humans. It can
Right.
be
Right.
everything.
Yeah. If you know of an area where is some disaster has happened,
Oh, yes.
well,
Yep.
don't come to mind, or fires or whatever that is, you can send love to that area. I send love everywhere all the time. It's just, kind of who I am. Um, People underestimate their abilities. Each individual has a significant amount of power that they never tap into. So that's one of the things that I do too, is help people find their personal power. A lot of times we have given that away, whether we have, been traumatized or abused or neglected or whatever it is, we have given some of our power away. You have to reclaim that power before you can really raise your vibration enough to communicate with other dimensional beings. A lot of times people want to start up here. You can't start up there. You got to start down here where you are.
Right.
Uh, Everybody wants to be psychic. Most people that contact me for a reading say, so do you think I can be psychic? I'm like, everyone is psychic. You've turned it off. Multidimensional beings are telepathic. We we have the ability to be that too, but we've turned it off. The society we have collectively created says that's not possible,
Right.
but it is possible. It happens every day. You do not have to move to an ashram and shave your head and wear robes. Everybody has that ability. And that's what people, when I talk about, some spiritual communications, well, I'm not Buddhist. Neither am I. Yeah, neither am I. It's like I'm pagan, plants and trees and animals. That's me. It just really is important for people to start realizing they do have that personal power. You have to heal before you can move forward. And when we're talking about communicating with other dimensions, they're ready. You're not. I tell people, start with grounding. And people look at me like I've got 5 heads. How is that? Lay on the dirt? No. Yeah, but we need to be grounded before we can move up. When people tell me law of attraction doesn't work for them, or have you tried grounding? Oh, I don't know how to do that. Oh, okay. The easiest way for me, it always has been, because I'm a sort of nature girl here, is go outside barefoot. Just stand on the grass, dirt, even in your driveway, if you don't have access to grass or dirt. There's a million different ways you can achieve that, even if you don't have a yard or whatever. You can also sit in your house, visualize roots from the bottoms of your feet anchoring you to the center of the planet. Make them red is preferable. So that's the easiest way to go up here, is to ground first. It makes no sense to people, but it's true.
As someone new, um, and you talked about the importance of grounding and the importance of taking your time. So, is there a recommended amount of time in between like reached energetic levels, if that makes sense?
I tell people who are just starting, give yourself a year. Doesn't always take that long. Sometimes, if you are really, find 5 minutes to meditate. Truly, you can do it in 3, but take 5 minutes to meditate when you're starting out. What I did 1.5 billion years ago, I set an egg timer because I thought I couldn't possibly be still for 5 minutes. And then someone told me, you don't have to be still. And I went, whoa, but what I did initially was I tried to set an egg timer, and 30 seconds, I'm like, and it just, it's individual. When you start, give yourself time. I say a year because it usually takes about 6 months. So if I tell people a year, at about 4 or 5 months, they're going, no, I can do this. I can do this. Maybe you can. Some people, it really does take a longer time. Depends on how much you've been traumatized, how much of your personal power you've given away, because you have to recoup that. You have to heal. Some people can go, oh, hey, I get it. And they do. Other people are like, I don't get it. When I teach energy work, there will always be one person. I usually do 4 or 5 students at a time. There will always be at least one who go, I don't feel anything. And then like a month goes by and I'll get a frantic call. What is happening to me? And so give yourself some time and really, really, really do not ask for a sign if you are not prepared to see one. But you have to take steps in the direction you want to go in. You have to do the work. And the work begins on yourself. That's where it starts. That's where it has to start.
So I'd like to bring us back to the services you offer and how to find you. Um, if you would like to talk a little bit about the services you offer and where your social media and website um, links are.
The best way to reach me is intuitive medium kellyfitzgerald.com. Kelly is with an IE. I have, I do readings. I do mediumship readings where I can connect to someone that has passed. I can do regular readings to help you if you're trying to make a decision or a new job or whatever. Akashic records readings, although lately I'm having more, oh my God, what do I do now kind of readings. I do teach a basic spirituality class, which is really aimed at beginners. But like I said before, I have one person I've been working with for 5 years. So it can progress. I do tailor it to each person. I have written a number of books. Why, I don't know yet. I'm working on one about my near-death experience, which should be out next summer. I have had people message me and ask for something specific. I do have my YouTube channel, Kelly Fitzgerald author, I think will get you there.
Okay.
But there are a bunch of videos on there and even previous podcasts that will answer a whole bunch of questions that beginners have. You can find me pretty much anywhere on social media right now. There are links. I think there's still links on my website. We're in the middle of redoing it though, so they may move around, but they are there. You just have to kind of look at them.
Well, and I will also put the links in for anybody viewing off of like a webcast or YouTube. And and in the description for the audio podcast as well, so that your website is on a clickable link
Okay.
for
Yep.
everyone. Did you want to also talk about your Laylee
Yeah, Laylee and the
adventures?
elephants. Yeah, she's Laylee is we're thinking maybe around 10-year-old girl in Thailand who happens to be deaf. Does not slow her down or affect her in any way. And she's made friends with elephants and orangutans. And it's a children's book series. It's teaching love, acceptance, compassion, friendship, all of that. There are 4 books in the series, plus an easy reader edition. We are in the process of making an animated movie based loosely on the Laylee and the Elephants books. Laylee, LAEHLI.com is that website. Has a whole bunch of more information, probably more information than you would ever really want to know about. But you can sign up for an email list there. We've been giving away things every month to someone on our mailing list, so that might be an incentive. So far, we've given away 2 books and a movie poster. So, the possibilities are endless. It is sort of my passion project currently. I do have a grandson who is deaf. Um, it does create issues. I don't want to say that, this kid lives in the jungle, she's perfectly fine, she can't hear. It does create differences that have to be addressed, being deaf. But you can overcome them. And in my grandchild's case, he reads lips really well. So where most parents can get away with Christmas, stuff or birthday stuff or school stuff, they can't. My son-in-law cannot do it. My daughter thinks it's hilarious. But yeah, that you can't mouth words, you can't spell. He's fluent in ASL, but he also reads lips very well. And he's writing his own book right now. So, apple didn't fall far from the tree.
Wow.
But it's originally Laylee was going to be a different name and Laylee was going to be a boy. And my grandson's parents threw a fit and said they did not want him, they didn't want it publicized that he was deaf. They felt it was an invasion of privacy. Okay. You meet him, you're going to know he's deaf, but it's okay. It's okay. So the whole idea was to make this kid, this deaf child, a hero.
I love
You
that.
know, she helps fight a fire and all kinds of stuff in the movie. Rescues a baby monkey, that kind of stuff. And everyone around her, everyone in her village, just sorts of lets her be who she is. And that was the whole point, is this is a person like any other person. She has special issues. So do we all. Everyone has something that they have to overcome, and it doesn't hold her back. So that was the whole thing behind the whole project. It sort of combined my love for my grandson with my love for animals and the environment in one book. So it's kind of the beginnings were that, and now it's expanded from a girl and her elephant, so to speak, to a whole village and a movie with, siblings and parents and, all this kind of stuff. It's been really exciting, and some days are better than others.
Yeah. So, where can they find those books and um, or donate to help make this movie happen?
On the Laylee website, there is a tab that says, help our movie. donate to it. Something like that. I think they've changed it. It used to say help our movie. I think it says support our movie now. But any amount helps. Truly, we've had people donate $5. I had someone the other day donate a lot, and I'm like, but we're grateful for all of it.
Well, is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you would like to add?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me today and going over dimensional beings and levels of frequency and raising vibrations and even all the fun stuff that we kind of side traveled off to. It's been very enjoyable.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been really fun. Really appreciate it.
And we would like to see you again.
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Have a great day and blessed be.
Blessed be.